Cosmic family, welcome to your Cosmic channel where we discuss galactic knowledge and wisdom from within. I'm Kate and today we're going to talk about 6 things you didn't know about the Pleiadians. So let's get right to it. What is up, Cosmic friends? Thank you so much. Welcome back. So today we're going to talk about 6 things you didn't know about the Pleiadians. So first up, guess what? Groundbreaking. They're not just blonde hair and blue-eyed beings. Like, this was so obvious to me when it came to me. There's a lot of illustrations out there about these blonde hair, like perfect humanoid beings. Definitely that is one species of Pleiadians, but it's really important to just get over this kind of xenophobia and this like labeling and stereotyping of alien beings, because there are thousands and thousands of different types. The variety is really kind of unfathomable to us, so it's just really about understanding that and just accepting that, and that Pleiadians come in all shapes and sizes, like all shapes and sizes. The Pleiadians that I've had experience with, one is like very dark skinned, she's got like very like lion, like, you know, big curly hair. There's another species that I work with, a Pleiadian, that is like feather like, you know, bird like, avian like. So again, just kind of move past this idea that they're just blonde hair and blue eyes. Like, again, it's just really getting over this like xenophobia, I think, of aliens. Like, they come in so many shapes and sizes, some of which will be shocking to us, in the sense that we're not used to it. So once we, you know, get over that hurdle, it's going to be easier to meet them and for disclosure to happen and all that kind of jazz. Cool, so hopefully that was obvious. Second, this might be a huge revelation, or some of you might already know this, but of course there is no Galactic Federation. And, you know, when that came to me as well, it felt really obvious, but I guess it's just breaking out of this, like, I don't know, it feels like quite authoritarian, like the beings talking to us from the Galactic Federation are, you know, the ones who know. What the understanding around this and what I wanted to get across was that there is no Galactic Federation, but because there are literally hundreds of federations, hundreds of associations. If you can, you know, imagine hundreds and thousands, you know, in infinite 10 million worlds inhabited, you know, evolved spacefaring civilizations working together, of course there are naturally going to be alliances and federations. Think how many there are on Earth, right? So many alliances and, you know, federations. I just don't know what they're called, but you get the drift. So don't think about it too much as what are the Galactic Federation saying, what's the info from the Galactic Federation, like it's really important, like it's the be all and end all. It's not. There is no Galactic Federation. There's hundreds of different types of federations. So again, it's really important to understand perspectives, agendas, you know, where things are coming from, and just kind of get out of this habit of needing like this one kind of like authority figure. It's a huge part of the awakening, is like really just kind of breaking out of that habit. So don't worry about it. There is no Galactic Federation. And, you know, if that is coming to you, if that information is coming to you, then just be discerning about it. It's just one type of organization that is contacting humanity. Definitely there are federations and alliances contacting humanity, like 1,000,000%. Like, I'm working with contact teams, you know, Pleiadian contact teams. But, you know, there's so many different types, you know, the Association of Worlds, you know, that's another one. There's so many different types. So don't get too caught up in like there just being this one Galactic Federation. There's so many different kinds. There's so many types, loads of different agendas. Cool. Next thing, really wonderful thing to understand about the Pleiadians is that they're very childlike. They're very, these are the evolved Pleiadians that we're talking about, the 4th density upwards. They're very playful and childlike in nature. So they're very curious and they take life very playfully, you know, not very seriously. So you're most kind of likely to have an interaction with the Pleiadian energy if you are just loving life and just having a great time and just dancing, you know, around. So they're not really going to come to you in any like really kind of serious sense. You know, some of them might, but generally speaking, the more evolved species are much more playful because they have this cosmic understanding that the universe is in its nature very playful. And it's this kind of understanding of like this paradoxical, like backwards evolution, where we've kind of got to this stage as humans where we take life so seriously and we think that there's, you know, there's others and we've got agendas out to get us, and we're kind of, you know, stuck in that kind of lower density energy. But as we evolve, we kind of go backwards into our childlike self, and we understand that the universe is perfect. It's all playful. There's a grand plan and a grand plan from God that we absolutely don't know about and can't understand. Even the upper echelons of, you know, hierarchical councils of aliens and beings don't know really what the grand plan is. That's why the dimensions keep evolving. Like, there used to be 7 and now there's 12, you know, so it's just really fun. And that's the idea of being able to connect with these Pleiadian beings, is that they are really playful because they understand the nature of the universe. They are more childlike. So yeah, this idea of like backwards evolution is really cool. Like, so play with that idea. I really love playing with that idea. Cool, so going backwards now in time and talking about more ancient Pleiadian stuff. Maybe you guys knew this, maybe you didn't, but to me it was it made lots of sense. Is that the Annunaki / Aeisr were ancient Pleiadian beings that came from Nibiru. They were from a Pleiadian branch of that evolution. Again, it's so broad, so many different types of species, but we can imagine them as like Pleiadians. And they were the Olympian gods. Like, how much sense does that make? It makes so much sense. So just play with that. It definitely, you know, it makes so much sense to me that, you know, these ancient Annunaki Aeisr, they were Pleiadians from that kind of branch, and they were the Olympian gods, which is so cool. Can you just imagine the hundreds of thousands of years of adventures that were going on with these Pleiadian beings, you know, like, so epic. So like, you can just really get involved in that and have some fun thinking about that. And the idea about this is that the Pleiadians and the Sirians were kind of working very closely together, but not working closely together. Like, they evolved parallelly. So the Sirians were had a lot of long-term, you know, investment. They put codes in our DNA. They were very, very, very much involved in the long game of human evolution, and they kind of worked alongside the Pleiadians in an ancient sense. So in an ancient sense, the Pleiadians were basically, you know, having sex with humans and loving humans and having romantic relationships with humans and, you know, evolving humans that way. But the Sirians were, you know, sort of trying to evolve even further, just work in that same way, but in their own way. So there was, again, so many like parallel like agendas, but it's important to understand that the Pleiadians were kind of coming from like a place of like, you know, love and raw lust, you know, having these relationships with humans. But the Sirians were very much like kind of, you know, coding our DNA and stuff like that. It's just so interesting, you know, the millions of years of human history that we could go into. It's fascinating. But I thought that was kind of a good thing to put in there about how the Pleiades and the Sirians were working together, like in a parallel sense, but kind of also unwittingly, like not really realizing. Anyway, so what that kind of ties into is this last point, which is that these ancient Pleiadian beings, the Aeisr, the Annunaki, etc., they were externally an incredibly advanced technological spacefaring human species, but so externally they had all of this knowledge and this power and they had all these abilities, but internally they were in turmoil, like absolute turmoil, like chaos. They were so emotionally unstable. They hated their parents, you know, they wanted to, you know, like hurt each other, and they played horrible, cruel games, and you know, they were so jealous, and you know, all of these stories that we hear about the Olympian gods, it's you know, very much based on truth, of course. So this idea that even though they had all this power and technology and they were spacefaring and you know, they kind of seemed like gods, but internally they were absolutely just devoid of balance and devoid of stability. Their emotions were all over the place. So the kind of understanding around that is that, again, it really kind of more comes down to the idea of humans now being in this kind of perfect evolved state where we are able to integrate our emotions, something that our ancient ET family were just unable to do. So again, kind of zooming out and not thinking in terms of time is like looking at it from this really beautiful perspective of these ancient Pleiadians and how they really just screwed up a lot of, you know, human history. Like they were so involved and like way too involved and really kind of, you know, messing things up, but you know, just having a journey and having an experience. And now, so that's the ancient Pleiadians, and now the future Pleiadians are a future version of us, and you know, a potential, an idea that has happened where they are now fully integrated, and they come from a fully integrated place, and now they are kind of coming back and, you know, guiding humanity because they were there. You know, they're guiding humanity because we are so also in turmoil with our emotions, and we're going through this integration phase. So that's why the Pleiadians are like perfect guides and perfect teachers for us, because they've already been there, you know, they've so been there. Like it was so dramatic, like a big saga. So we're this kind of, we're like this perfect, you know, destiny, this prophecy of being able to fully integrate that, everything that's, you know, happened. And you know, the Pleiadians had a lot of guilt, but they had to transcend their guilt around what happened, you know, in ancient history, human history. And so that's why they make perfect guides and perfect teachers for us, because again, you have to just zoom out of time and just forget linear thinking when it comes to this and just see how perfect that is, just how beautiful and perfect that is, that they can now kind of come back and help teach us, because we were actually the ones that got them to that stage. And how time works, it's just so cool. I think it's brilliant. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. So much more information about all of that stuff, and I'm gonna like get way more into it, but please join me again so we can talk about it more. I love you so much, and we'll speak to you again really soon.